monument was conceived of as 4 rooms to reflect FDR's 4 terms as president. By the time it was finished, it represented the views of the disabled, anti-smoking partisans, and animal rights activists. Yeah, it's very hard to make a memorial these days. The heroic end portrait of FDR, excuse me, gives no sign of his disability. At the memorial's first dedication in 1997, it was attended by dozens of protesters in wheelchairs. They were incensed. They were, wait a minute, this presidency was conducted from a wheelchair. Why isn't that represented? With the National Organization on Disability and the support and approval of the Roosevelt family, Robert Graham did another portrait of FDR. Now this is the first thing you see when you enter. They added a 5th room. It's called the Prologue Room. Here we have FDR in his wheelchair. And I want you, if you, next time you go, you might have missed this, but next time you're in Washington, it's a wonderful memorial. Get down on your hands and knees and look behind here. Most people don't know to see this. What is it? It's a recreation of FDR's drawing for his wheelchair. FDR designed his wheelchair out of a dining room chair and bicycle wheels. And behind that memorial, you'll see this wonderful picture. Of course, incorporating lifestyle changes meant that FDR is also not shown with his trademark cigarette holder. And Eleanor is lacking her fur boa. So here we have Eleanor, pinched, freezing forevermore. She is standing in a thin cloth coat. Amendment sometimes means acknowledging the past. More than a triumphant view of history that only monumentalizes the victors, we are seeing more and more survivors and victims are being remembered. 1982, Vietnam Wall, last year, 25th anniversary already. Now there's much that can be said about this memorial, but I'm showing it to you because it's a benchmark of contemporary memorial design. There are 58,000 plus names carved on that wall. The power of this piece consists of those names. The fact of those names, the fact that there is nothing said about who these people were. This is an every man, every woman memorial. The other hugely important thing about this piece is that you cannot read those names without seeing your own face in that highly polished black granite. Makes no claims about war. It makes no claims about who won the war, like many earlier neoclassical memorials. It just says that the cost of war. This is the cost of war. These 58,000 dead. Now, as significant as the Vietnam Wall is, I think that the AIDS quilt shown here on the National Mall better addresses the revolution in memorial design in the last several decades. This is a memorial that does not celebrate heroes. It celebrates survivors. Like the Vietnam Wall, the quilt is intended to provide solace through interaction, through the process of finding a name, but also through the process of making these panels. It is the most democratic of monuments, literally by the people, for the people. The idea that people make monuments, can make monuments, not the cultural elite, but anybody, is one of the most apparent memorial trends. 9/11 really just brought out commemoration at its most inventive. Here's Cinema Village, East 12th Street. Just rearranging the ordinary. One of the most powerful memorial forms to emerge from that event were the photo posters, which began to appear on the afternoon of 9/11. There was this idea that people were walking around in a dazed state. They did not know who they were. And family members, out of mad hope and love, started to make color copies of pictures. And there was a very interesting, it's one of the things I discuss in my book, there was a very interesting evolution of these forms. At first, it was minimal information, all 8.5 by 11, a photograph, where the person worked, the name, and maybe the height. Then a second layer of information was added to these when they realized that many people were not alive, they started to include forensic information that would help identify the bodies. Has a tattoo, has a pierced ear, wearing a wedding band. And then finally, within a week, certainly by the end of the second week, these were amended again. Farewell, pray for me. I would say this is the most extraordinary thing to emerge out of the memorials. So, to conclude, we've taken a very quick look at why memorials are changing and how they are changing. Monuments do not tell us everything about history, and the more and more I study them and think about them, I realize they really don't tell us, they tell us very little, in fact. They don't tell us specific stories. What they tell us is that at one time there were others, heroes and survivors, ordinary people like us, who were called to greatness. Monuments ask that each one of us live our lives as though they make a difference. So, thank you for your good attention. I would love to have questions.